Welcome to the Women Majoring in Marriage podcast with your host, Janice L. Vance. Girl, if you are a married woman that desires not just to have a surviving marriage, you know, the kind that's just on cruise control, but actually want a thriving marriage, you are in the right place. If you are engaged, this show can inspire you to prepare for your marriage before preparing for that expensive wedding day. Oh, and all my single ladies out there that are in their season of waiting on God to send your husband, we've got something for you as well. Girl, marriage is not hard, but it certainly is work. So relax, get your pen and paper, and let us major in marriage.
Well, hello to all of my queens, and welcome to the Women Major in Marriage podcast with yours truly, Janice Vance. As I always say, thank you all so much for continuing to rock with me. I see you all looking at these podcasts, listening to them. I see you sharing them, and I appreciate it. I'm getting comments, and I got 2 comments from one lady too over in Africa, and I'm just thankful for the platform that God has put me here for. And I say God because it definitely was God doing. I began to seek him what was my next step, and this is what he led me to do. And I believe is ordained of him. I started out that I was just only doing my podcast myself because that's the way I was feeling directed, just to do twice a month, and I would do them. But then he started leading me and showing me people to interview, and I started writing those names down. And as I wrote those names down, literally those names are falling in the order that I have them. And so I know it's him. I have a special guest today. A special guest today with me. We never met in person, but I've been stalking her. I've been stalking her because the girl is real. I think I met her with on Chris platform, Tanisha. I think I met her on. I can't even remember where I first heard. I think that's what it was. And I listened to it and I listened to it and I was like, I'm keep on. I'm gonna reach out to her. I'm gonna reach out to her. And I thank God for her accepting it so willingly, so willingly, so willingly. And I do appreciate it. I'm not gonna be long. I'm gonna introduce her to you all. And I want y'all to just sit back and listen and share these podcasts. The podcast might not be something for you, but it might help somebody else. You might not know what another person is going through or what they need answers to, or they're suffering in silence about something and don't want to talk about it. But just share it with a young lady, a married lady, or those that are, because you all know the marriage major is not just for married women who want to have a thriving marriage, but it's also for those that are engaged and not just preparing for their big wedding, but preparing to be a wife. And also, the marriage major is for that woman that is in her season of waiting on God to send her husband. So, all these podcasts will be a blessing to that particular woman. So, you share the podcast, share. It doesn't cost anything, share it. But I'm going to introduce my guest that I am so happy for us to just meet on Zoom. We never met in person. I live in Alabama and she lives in California.
Mhm. Thank God for the virtual
Yes,
life.
yes. Her name is Mavis McKnight. Mavis McKnight has been married for 17 and a half. She wanted me to make sure I said a half. I said, yeah, girl, because every second count.
That's right.
17 and a half years and have 3 adult children. She's a certified sexologist and pastor's wife. Wow.
Yes.
Certified sexologist. And I promise you, I have read so much with being a women marriage coach. I have read so much on sex, so many books, so many videos, so many, but I have never heard of the sexologist. So that began to pique my interest. And I
Okay.
hope it does the same for you. She's a sexologist and a pastor's wife, so she has a handful right there. She's passionate about helping Christian wives discover how to have more fulfilling sex. I think that's a great passion to have because it's a subject that is not talked about and some is frowned upon. And I think that we need to talk more about it, need to be more open about it. Um, because some of us grew up as girls, as girls, it was like, oh, girls supposed to act like this, a girl's supposed to do like this, and never was told that sex was for marriage. You better not do it. That's all the boys want. Stay away from sex. You're gonna get pregnant. And you grow up with that in your head, and then you get married, and you still have those things that hold you back because of what you've been taught. So
Yes.
I'm so glad that she's so passionate about sharing this platform because it is a subject that definitely need to be talked about.
Yes.
Well, ladies, guess what her subject is? Sex, sex can still be great after the honeymoon, children, and menopause. I think that I think that covers it all.
Yes.
I think that covers it all. Sister Mavis, I want to introduce you to my platform. And again, I do want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for what you're doing. And know that the best is yet to come for you. Thank you
Oh,
for being obedient. Because I know it had to be God leading you this way and in this
yes.
area, and you feeling that need. So
Yes.
just have your way. Just tell us why you feel that this subject is so important, how you have blessed others, what do you do to help others? Just talk as if you and I are just sitting on the sofa just chatting.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you, Miss Janice. And I hope you don't mind me calling you Miss Janice because
That's
that's just
fine.
my
That's fine.
term of endearment. So I want to thank you, first of all, for this platform. And without this platform, you're right, we won't be able to share a lot of the things that we've learned or that we know that are best for Christian wives and best for believers in general. But we wouldn't be able to do that. So I do want to share that you're such a blessing to have this platform, and I'm grateful to you for heeding God's call as well. So um when I first started, like you, I was asking God, please tell me what it is that you want me to do. And God knows when we're sincere about asking him stuff. So, I asked and asked and asked. And, one day he not even dropped in my spirit, he spoke to me directly. But just let me share a little bit about how I even got here and how I know it was God. So, as you shared, me and my husband has been married for 17 and a half years, and he is a pastor. And when we met back up, because we actually went to junior high school together, and we actually dated for like a week after high school, and then we both went our separate ways, and he got married to someone else, of course, and then I got married to someone else. So once those marriages were over, then God brought us back together. So the fact that he was a pastor to me was just God in his joking way. I don't know, trying to be funny or something. I don't know. Because my father is a pastor. And I'm like, okay, God, I've been doing this pastor thing like a long time. And I'm not really trying to be doing that right now. But of course, it's not really about what we want to do, is what plans that God has. So
Exactly.
yeah, so I really wanted to be able to help him in the ministry. And I just asked God to know, what is it that you want me to do to help these women? And one day, of course, I just surrendered my spirit to God, because that's the only time he's really going to talk to you and you're going to really listen, is when you're surrendered. I should say hear him, because he's always talking to you. But when we surrender, of course, that's when we hear him. So, as I'm driving in LA, he just started speaking to my spirit, telling me to drive here. He said, turn right here. So I turned right, drove down a little bit more. The Spirit of God said, turn left here. So I turned left and I drove a little bit more. The Spirit of God said, pull over right here. And I pull over and I look up and I find myself in front of the Word of Life bookstore. So I'm, of course, like, okay, what am I doing at this bookstore? But being obedient, I get out of the car and I go into the bookstore. So, I start looking for books on women in counseling, women in prayer, women, and just books for women, counseling, something just to help the women to try to get me on the track that I'm supposed to be on. And, I pick up the books and I'm not really feeling these books, but
Mhm.
I take them up there anyway to the counter, to pay for them because I'm here for a reason, God. Okay. So as I'm walking to the cash register, something, I always say something, but God, the Spirit of God compelled me to look to my left, and there was a bookshelf right there, right cat corner to the cashier, and there was this one book sitting on that shelf, and the book was about 21 questions Christian women ask about sex. And I'm like, okay. So of course, I'm compelled to pick the book up. So I pick it up and I start thumbing through it. I read a little bit of it. And then I go to the back where the authors are helping, one of a young lady to improve her sex life. And once I read that, I knew immediately that that was the reason God had led me to this bookstore. Now, I
Yeah.
had none of that, nothing about sex on my radar. I promise you, none in my orbit. I'm thinking some spiritual stuff, right? Because I'm like, okay, God, what do you want me to do with these women in this church? He didn't have nothing to do with that. When I knew that this is what he sent me there for, I put those other books back. I bought this book, and this before I retired. Yes, I am happily retired since 2018. But before I retired, I used to go to the park and read. So I took the book and I read the book. And like in 3 days, I was 3/4 of the way done with it. And I'm walking back up to my office, the back walkway, and the Spirit of God speaks to me just as clear as I'm talking to you. He said, this is what I want you to do. I want you to teach married Christian women to enjoy sex with their husbands. It's what I created you to do. And we want
Wow.
God so hard to tell us
Yeah.
exactly what he wants us to do. No, no, like
Yes.
inferring or indirect stuff. It's like, please, God, tell us in no uncertain terms what you want us to do. If that wasn't direct, I don't know what was.
Exactly.
So I was like, oh my God. So after that, of course, I dove in with, 10 fingers, 10 toes, head first and everything, to do this thing that God had told me that he purposed me to do. So
Mhm.
that's when, I started with my trainings and, my teachings and with, creating events to just get this message out there of sexual wellness to believers or Christian women all over the world, or which is my mission all over the world. But I had to start where I was with our our church membership and some of the friends and family that I had. So then came my certification. So when God opened up that door for me, it was like, okay, God, I know you really, really told me to do this. I know you did. So I
Uh,
have no doubt in no parts of my being that God called me specifically to do this. And I know that we as women start off so far behind the 8 ball in our sexual life anyway, because of all the things we were sharing earlier, all this stuff that we were taught in the church by our parents, even in society, all this
right.
negative stuff we were taught that really is a block, or that creates blocks to our sexual enjoyment. So my goal is mainly to start with the mindset, to shift that mindset, because that's where everything starts, your
Mhm.
belief, and to just bring a different view, a new view, more positive, sex positive view into people's lives, especially the women, into the women's lives, so they can start understanding, start seeing that this is a gift from God that He gave us to enjoy in our marriage with our husbands. So that's not a little bit, but that's exactly how I got here where I am right now.
That is so awesome, so awesome. So the question I guess I would ask, and when you said that um helping Christian wives discover
Mhm.
how to have a more feeling for sex life, and that sex can be great after the honeymoon,
Yes. Yeah. Now let me share.
children, and
Yes.
menopause and
Yes.
menopause. So,
Yes.
in other words, you're saying that start with the mindset.
Hmm.
Know that God created sex. No
Hmm.
matter what stage or what season you're in in your marriage, from the beginning all the way to menopause,
Hmm.
sex still can be enjoyed.
Absolutely can be. And the reason why I know this is because that's my personal experience. And I know some of the things I'm going to share are a lot of women's personal experience. So to be able to get some solutions to move past the blocks or the obstacles, that's gold. That's everything. And I know that's going to be very beneficial to, all the ladies, all the wives, the engaged believers, the ladies that are in waiting, and like I say, the ones that are still hoping. You got still some that are waiting, in long-term relationships,
Right.
and some that are out, but some that are still hoping, even though they've been waiting a long time. But they're still hoping that God is going to bless me with my Boaz. I'm going to be married at some point in my life. So yeah, so
Right.
it's for everybody
Right.
who desires marriage. So,
So just share with the audience what's on your heart. Just share what's on your heart, something that they can take away from this and say, oh, it's still hope, because there's a lot of married women are not having sex. There's a
mhm,
lot of married women that are having sex but not being fulfilled.
mhm,
Um, there's a lot of, it could be health issues or whatever, but I still feel that even if if it's health issue, I think that's a lack of communication with your husband,
mhm,
because you should be able to communicate with him, and he should not be selfish and want to make sure that his wife is satisfied, even if he has a health issue,
mhm.
or he can't perform, or she has issues and she can't perform. We can't be selfish,
Yeah.
and because we'll end up getting in that rut, and after a while, sex will be the thing of the past, and
Mhm.
we'll be living just like roommates.
Yeah.
So share your heart, just whatever way God is leading you to encourage women about sex.
Okay. Okay. And you hit a couple of nails on the head, when you said that there are a lot of women that are in sexless marriages, because one of the statistics that we learned about was there are 30 to 40 million people in the US in sexless marriages. That's a lot of people. And I know
That's a
it has
that's a
gone
lot.
up. That's a lot of people. And then the second thing that you said was the women who are having sex, but they are totally unsatisfied. Oh my God, that is kind of like my soapbox. But and the communication thing, that is that's probably my first soapbox, because communication is so important. It's important, and if you think about it, in every area of life. So
Mhm.
I sometimes talk about how women can talk about everything under the sun.
Mhm.
Talk about their career, talk about the kids, talk about their girlfriends, talk about the business, talk about church, talk about the pastor and his wife, all kind of stuff. But when you want them to open up their mouth about sex, it's like, sure, the cat has that tongue.
Mhm.
And a lot of that is, just because, historically women have been taught to, shut up, basically, and, didn't really have a voice. And even, with the liberations of today, it's still a lot of women that are really shamed to open their mouth about sex. And that's
Right.
also part of, what I help women to be able to do, to learn how to communicate effectively with their husbands so they can get their sexual needs met, because that is so, so important. So with that said, I do just want to share a couple of things about, how sex can still be great, during these times in our lives where we really are not thinking about that because something else is on our mind or on our plate. And I started with the honeymoon. So, most experts say that the honeymoon period lasts between 6 months and 2 years. Okay. And then after that, it's like reality starts to set in. It's like those, you know, rose-colored glasses, they're starting to become shades of gray. And of course, I don't mean Christian
Right.
Grey and
Right.
50 Shades of Grey and all that. I mean, you just start to see some real stuff. And it's like, okay, this person is not who I thought they were. And I mean, you get to a point where, the negative, you start seeing a lot of negative things in each other, and they start taking the place of, the positive stuff. And I remember when me and my hubby, we were married for probably about 5 years. And the numbers, that are not really relevant as far as how long the honeymoon period lasts, but everybody's honeymoon period is different. But these are just some
Right.
numbers, the people have come up with. But we have been married about 5 years, and it's like all of a sudden he started getting way comfortable with complaining about stuff about me that he had never mentioned before. And I was just like, okay. So I, in turn, started complaining about things that I didn't like about him. So that's one of the things that really throws marriages and couples off, because you start focusing on the wrong stuff after the honeymoon and after the reality sets in, and you start focusing on, all this negative stuff, and what's important, it just kind of like just pushed to the background, and
Mhm.
the unimportant things start coming to the forefront. And that is like a typical, I call it sex singeing situation. Okay. Yes, and man, when you might accidentally put your arm over the fire and you got hairs on
It's,
your arm, and it's like, oh Lord Jesus, singes your hairs off really quick. So yeah, I
uh,
call it sex singeing situation, because y'all just looking at each other and complaining and not really seeing each other the way that you did before, before
correct.
the honeymoon. And now I want to move on to the children. Okay, the children. When we
The truth.
oh God, these beautiful bundles of joy that we get all excited about and we get all consumed with, they come into our lives, and we're just like so obsessed and so focused on the children. And what usually happens is, the mom. And now I'm not saying that the husbands are not caregivers or don't get involved, but the moms are usually the ones that do the most caregiving when the babies first arrive. Now she's carried this life for 9 months. Okay,
Mhm.
that's a reality. She's
Right.
bonding with that baby more and more, like every day. Then here comes the delivery. And having kids, that's a personal experience that nobody and nothing can compare to,
Exactly.
period. Okay. Whether it was like 6 hours of painful labor,
Mhm.
or whether it was like 11 hours of like mild labor, and you got your little 2-push delivery, or whether it was like 23 hours of intense labor that
Mm.
ended in a C-section. It's her experience. And it's really no wonder why, a woman feels like really close and bonded with this child. However, after the initial child care, when the excitement starts to wear off, then generally the husband, it started looking like, okay, so what about me?
I'm over here.
I'm still here. Okay. Because I know my daughter, she was my firstborn. When I first had her, the dad, he actually got jealous of my care of my daughter. And it's like, okay, I'm a new mother. I'm trying to make sure I'm doing everything right. Of course we are. We're consumed with this, being a great mom, caring for this child, making sure all of this child's needs are fulfilled, right? But there is a whole nother person over there,
Whole nother human
a
being.
whole nother human being. But most of the time, the moms feel overwhelmed and they really feel like they can't fulfill their husband's needs and their baby's needs, at the same time. And then to top it off, who who feels sexy when you got kids hanging on you all day, you smelling like throw up, or you sleep deprived.
Right.
You cannot feel
Exactly.
can't feel sexy when you
Exactly.
got all of that going on. And that's truly something that will diminish any woman's
Mm.
desire for sex. Now I'm going to move into the menopause portion. Ooh wee. Yeah, menopause. Okay, so according to experts, menopause is supposed to happen in women between the ages of 48 and 52. And of course, menopause is the end of our menstrual cycle where our estrogen starts decreasing and our uh, emotional and physical life starts to get affected. It starts to change and starts to
Start
get
kicking in.
out of balance. Yes. And it's not necessarily that our testosterone increases. It's just, it just becomes more magnified because the estrogen is decreasing. And FYI, that's where them chin hairs be coming from. And we all getting like, oh my God, I got a chin hair. And you don't want to snatch it out because what do they say? Two more grow in this
Two
place,
more
right?
gonna grow.
So you just got your little scissors and you kind of trying to clean it. Ah, that's so sad. So, and
Oh,
man, and I saw a term the other day that said dry as dust. Oh my God. And I immediately thought about women that are going through menopause because vaginal dryness is one of the main symptoms of menopause. Vaginal dryness. And of course, we know that is one of the main enemies or deterrents to enjoyable sex. Now, I wanted to share this because I just want women to know there there are a massive amount of symptoms, for women that are going through this period, this menopause period, this next chapter of their life's journey. They're at least 50. Okay. That's a lot.
yes. Yes.
Yeah. But the North American Menopause Society, they share 5 common ones that I do want to share just for the women to just understand some of what's happening with her and why it's happening. Number 1 is mood changes. And of course, we know what that is. You happy 1 minute, the next minute you snapping, talk crazy, losing your temper on somebody. And be like, oh, blame it on the menopause, the PMS. Sorry. I still love you. Number 2, urinary incontinence. You can't hold your pee. See, coughing and sneezing and laughing, and you're releasing. That is not fun. Night sweats, hot flashes. And 1 minute you sweating like a hog, and then the next minute you cold. And that's weird. But night sweats. 4 is trouble falling asleep, insomnia. You staring at the ceiling at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, wondering why you can't go to sleep.
Mm.
Yeah, insomnia is one of the symptoms. And then sexual discomfort is the 5th one. And that's vaginal dryness, as I shared earlier. Now, I did write an article about, this menopause and estrogen. So if any of your listeners want a copy, they can actually send me an email to askmavis@mavismcknight.com. Okay.
Yes.
Now, with all of this going on in a woman's mind, in a woman's heart, her soul, her body, once again, is no wonder why she does not feel like sex can be great after menopause. But here's the thing. Everything that I shared, they're natural occurrences and experiences that we go through in our life's journey. But there is one simple way to combat all of this so that sex can still be great. You ready to hear this? You think your listeners are ready to hear?
I think they're ready to hear this.
You think they're ready? Okay. Well, I hope they have a pen and paper.
When a dog think he heard something, them ears start sticking up. Yep. I think everybody's ears are up.
Yes. Okay, now I want everybody to write this down at least 5 times. Okay. Here it is. It's making a commitment to keep your sex life a priority. Making a commitment to keep your sex life a priority. And if you don't know what the word commitment means, look it up. Everybody got a phone. Everybody got some kind of dictionary. They can look up what the word commitment means. But making a commitment to keep your sex life a priority, or to make it and keep it a priority. Now, these women are probably thinking, how in the Sam Hill or in the world tarnation can I make my sex life a priority with everything that I got going on, with the realities after the honeymoon that this person ain't the person that I thought he was going to be or she was going to be. The kids who, look, the women are probably hot anyway with the husband because sex is what got them in that predicament in the first place. And of course, the menopause, we just shared, oh my God, about that. The dry desert, the mood swings, the body changes, the sagging breasts. And this could easily happen if you breastfeed, Oh my God. Even if you don't breastfeed, that can happen. Or lack of desire. Ugh. So I get it. But how do you fight all of that? How do you find the time for anything else, especially sex, which most of us know that can easily, and I think you might even mention this earlier, that can easily be put on our to-do list as a chore.
Yes.
And that's dangerous, so dangerous to, look at your sexual experiences or sex as a chore, something that I need to do. I can't do that. Right. One of my goals is to make sure that women understand, or the mindset shift. The mindset shift will be to look at sex as the gift and as something pleasurable for me, first and foremost. Not it's for my husband, a man's thing. I got to endure it. It's a chore. It's a sin. None of that is a pleasure and a gift to me personally. That's what I want women to start thinking and believing. And that will absolutely help women to learn to put, to make their sex life a priority. So right now, I want to give you 3 of the most eye-opening, easy to apply tips for keeping your sex life a priority, even in the midst of all this, the after the honeymoon realities, the children hanging on your leg, and that time in life, that season in time of life called menopause. All right, you ready?
Ready.
All right, so I'm going to call these the 3 Ds of delicious discovery. The 3, count them, 3 Ds of delicious discovery.
Okay.
Okay. The first D of delicious discovery is decide. Decide. So what does it mean to decide? It means to make a choice. And I always reference my favorite theory, which is choice theory, which says you have the power to choose. You have the power to choose
Yeah.
what you want to make yourself happy or to just make a choice. You have the power to do that. Just make the choice. So you decide to do it, you make the choice. And there's that is so powerful to me. And it always has been just the most powerful thing. You can decide, you can choose what it is that you want. Yeah, very empowering. Now, there's this quote that I love by Dale Carnegie, and he's the author of the book Think and Grow Rich. And it says, once you make a definite decision about something, providence moves and things start to open up that had you not made that decision, never would have showed up. So true. Things like a change of heart to serve and receive. Things like keeping your promise to yourself first and then your spouse. And it's like, you're going all day doing whatever you're doing. And then you might have a thought about your husband and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna give him some tonight. I'm gonna dress up. I'm gonna cook up some dinner. I'm gonna have some candlelight stuff. I'm gonna have some nice music. I'm gonna put on my lingerie and I'm gonna do this and that and the other to my husband tonight. And then you get home in that familiar surrounding. It's like, I don't feel like doing all that.
Exactly.
So when you make a decision and a commitment, is going to help you to keep that promise to yourself first and then your husband. Even though your husband don't know, you know. So you keep the promise to yourself first and then keep the promise to your husband. And also, what will show up also is the pleasure that you receive from engaging in your sexual experience. Oh my God.
Wow.
One of my favorites. The pleasure that you receive. All right. Let's move to the second D of delicious discovery. And that is to depend. Depend. And depend means to rely. To rely on. Rely on the fact that you and your husband are a team first. You and your husband are a team first, even before the children.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's important to set a standard of making deposits before the kids get here. So you can get into this great sensual and sexual rhythm that cannot be broken no matter what. It might be paused for a time, but it cannot be broken.
But it won't be broken.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah. Yes. Deposits are so important. So important. It's kind of like bank deposits. You deposit money in the bank so you can go to the bank and get the money out later. You ain't making no deposits, you ain't gonna have no money.
You ain't gonna have nothing to withdraw. Exactly.
Yes. So there was this young mother who had 6 kids. Count them, 6. And she still found time to enjoy an amazing sex life with her husband. Because she had shared that they had a great sex life before the kids. And then she made a commitment to keep her sex life a priority by making sure that they did everything they could do before the first child got here. So the way she was able to continue with her amazing sex life, then being a team first, making a commitment, making deposits, making a commitment to keep her sex life a priority, making deposits. And then after the kids got there, then even though she was tired sometimes, she always went back to her commitment.
Her commitment.
Yes, to keep her sex life a priority. All right, now it'll take us to the third D of delicious discovery, and that is deserve. And I think I love this one the most. Deserve. I had done a survey and I asked, women what did they think that was the thing that most Christian women were struggling with. And it was a belief that they deserved pleasure. And I was really shocked by that, only because that's not how I feel, but it's not about how I feel, it's about how the women that I'm here to impact feel. And not believing that they deserve pleasure was like like one of the number one things or the main issue.
What?
So a woman in her 60s, menopause laden and all, she found joy and excitement in her sexual experiences because she knew that she deserved to delight in the pleasure that God had freely given to her and her husband.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that L'Oreal slogan from a long time ago, because I'm worth it. You remember that?
Because I'm worth it.
Because I'm worth it. That's how she felt.
Mm-hmm.
She knew that she deserved their pleasure, even going through menopause. Okay, so that gave her the mindset that, hey, I can still have a great sex life even after menopause. Now, although she had to deal with that unfortunate symptom of vaginal dryness, she knew that lubricants would be a juicy solution, and that became a staple in her sex life.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing about lubes is that so many couples live by them. And that's just an FYI. So many couples do. Christian couples. Is not a sin for you to go to a romance store and make it a date night.
Right.
And just pick some lubes, look over, because they do have so many brands. Just look over, the brands they have, read the instructions, read the ingredients, and you want, a water soluble, a water-based lubricant, so, nothing oily, nothing that's gonna, change your pH, your vaginal pH. So it's a great way for a couple to bond and to really that's an intimate thing, very intimate. You're going to purchase some lubrication to enhance the pleasure in your sex life. That can bond any couple.
Exactly.
Yeah, so this lady, even if she was in her 60s, she was determined that nothing would stop her from the pleasure of her sex life. And she made her sex life a priority by whatever means necessary. So I have a pro tip for all the ladies, no matter what your age is, no matter where you're going through the after the honeymoon phase, even before you get married, before you even become sexually active, or however, it goes in your life. The more you keep your female functioning, the more it will keep functioning for you. The more you keep your female functioning, the more it will keep functioning for you. And that translation is regular sexual stimulation promotes blood flow to the genital areas, and it helps to produce that wetness and that moisture that is essential for easy penetration. And this will eliminate that for most women. It eliminates that dry desert that so many women have to suffer through in menopause. And as I shared before, that's one of the greatest deterrents of enjoyable sex. Okay, so the more you do it, the more your body is going to want to do it, and the more your body is going to respond to it. That's just bottom line.
Right. I always say, if you don't use it, you'll lose it.
You don't lose it. Absolutely. Absolutely. So get in the habit of using it. That's what I say, And then your bonus reminder, of course, we talked about this earlier, it is all about your mindset. All about your mindset. A mindset, a mindset that says, I still love, accept, and desire you even after those rose-colored glasses come off. A mindset that says the children shouldn't distract us from our erotic connection to one another. And a mindset that says the effects of aging are natural and should be embraced and celebrated. And we simply need to shift.
Wow.
So to recap, our sex can be great after the honeymoon, after the children, after menopause. One is decide. You choose to make your sex life a priority. Number two is depend. You rely on each other to make your sex life a priority. And three is deserve. Know that you are worth making your sex life a priority.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm going to close with this. You can do anything that you put your heart, mind, and commitment behind. Anything. If any of you ladies are having serious challenges making your sex life a priority, then a lot of these examples should be able to help.
Mhm.
Now, if you're still struggling or if you still have a challenge, then this might be the perfect time to dig a little bit deeper and find out why. And this is where I can help.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And you just would have to reach out to me. But either way, you have this incredible opportunity after your honeymoon, after the cheering, and certainly and certainly after menopause to experience for yourself that sex can still be great if you want it to.
Wow. That is so awesome. I'm sitting here thinking, y'all see my pen, I got my notebook. You know, when I talk about the marriage major,
Mhm,
um, I envision as if being a student and you're majoring in your marriage, you're learning. So I really felt I'm sitting here majoring. I'm sitting here major. I've got my notes in. I'm writing my notes, and I just want to say, First Lady, you have been awesome. I know y'all ladies. I know y'all ladies got a lot of tips out of this. What this is another thing I wanted to ask
mhm,
because I'm seeing a lot of these questions, and you know how you can go on Facebook and you can be anonymous where
mhm.
people don't have to know, and then I'll say something. I'll say, okay, make sure y'all have your date night on the calendar. Or I say something like this, and I just been noticing what people been saying, and a lot of people. What would you say to that woman? Um, she might not even been going through menopause. Yeah, she might not even be at the age, but her husband might have issues. Her husband is not able to perform. So she feel deprived. She still desires sex, but he has these issues and they know this. So they have just settled on it. Oh, it's over. She was like, it's just like it's over. It don't mean anything to him. We just go to bed. We just living like roommates. We still love each other.
Mhm.
We still love each other. We still laugh. We still talk. We still have a good time. He's a good provider, but I'm not being fulfilled. And I mean, I get so much of that,
Yeah.
so much, so much of that. And the first thing I ask is, have y'all talked about it? Have you
Mhm,
told him
mhm,
that you have needs and that there's other ways he can meet your needs?
mhm.
Have y'all discussed those things? And a lot of times, guess what women say? No, I
Mhm.
feel embarrassed.
Yeah.
They feel embarrassed to discuss it to the husband to say, hey, I desire sex. I need sex. I ain't gotta have it every day.
Mhm. Yeah.
But don't just act like it doesn't even exist. What would you say to that? What would you say to that woman
Yeah. And
that is
that
not being sexually fulfilled?
yeah, one of the things that women can do, first of all, the women that are feeling embarrassed, they could set a time and date to talk to their husbands, but what they would want to do is to share with him first how embarrassed or whatever shame they feel for talking about this situation, because if you call it out, then that gives it less power. Okay, number one. So the first thing they should do is to let their husbands know, I want to talk to you about something, but I feel like so embarrassed about this, or feel, shame bringing this up. But I just want you to listen to me, or this, I want to share this with you. And then in their own way, they don't have to be perfect communicators or anything like that. They can just say, well, let me just first say this. When women are sharing with their husbands, never blame him for what's going on. Because
Right.
if you blame him, the walls are going to come up, and
Mhm.
you defeat your whole purpose. So you always want to, and I have I think in my workshop I had like this segment on this. You always want to approach him with a compliment. And what do we call it? The sandwich style communication. You
Right.
approach him with a compliment first. You love him. I want us to be close. I mean, I love that we do this and that and the other in our marriage, but I would love to this thing to make it even better. Or I would love to talk to you about this thing, even though I feel embarrassed or shame about this, because this is important to me. It means something to me. And I just believe, this will help both of us. This will benefit both of us, if, we have this discussion or have this talk about this thing. And I also think, and secondly, women have to know what it is that they want. That's the second thing. If a woman does not know what she wants, then she cannot communicate that to her husband. It's not, and this is just my approach, but this is the way I function. Everybody don't believe in it, everybody don't agree with it, but this is what I believe, that a woman should be able to discover her own pleasure in order to be able to share what pleases her with her husband. Because I always say, I don't want my husband, groping around in the dark, or, trying to figure stuff out when I could just as easily tell him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Because that's
Exactly.
annoying to me. I'm just going to say that's annoying to me.
Exactly.
I don't want, no, I don't want you to try to figure it out. I can just tell you easily, okay? And that's part of our
It's
shame and
30 minutes.
embarrassment.
30 minutes passed. You still trying to figure it out.
You
30
still
minutes
trying
are
to,
gone. You still,
and I'm rolling my eyes up in my head, and I'm like, oh my God, when is he gonna get the memo? And we do that. So it's easier. And then of course, once you out of the mood, then it's over for us. It's over. It's so hard to get back there for us. And that's just a natural thing, because of how our brain works. Period. Our brains and our emotions work. So whatever she can do to help her is going to benefit both of them.
Both of them.
Yes. So yeah. And then a lot of men have not been taught, trust and believe, they have not been taught about a woman's sexuality. All the information that they've been taught is about a man's sexuality. They got this penis, they stick it in a vagina, they hump a couple of times, and then they have an orgasm, and that's supposed to be the end of it.
Right.
But you got a whole nother female with sexual needs just like you. And it was a question that someone asked, about that, and I was like, men think women don't have sexual needs. And my answer, of course, was, of course they do. Just like you have sexual needs, women have sexual needs. And men get lazy. They do. And if you don't call them on their laziness, then they're gonna stay lazy. So
exactly.
So women have to require men to step up to the plate, their husbands to step up to the plate by their own self-empowerment and their own, personal power. So what their information is about their own pleasure and their own sexuality. So I just believe that as long as women know what they want, that's going to empower them to be able to speak up to their husbands about what it is that they need.
That they really need.
Yeah. And a lot of times, this is something my husband told me. He said, whenever a man thinks something is work outside of his job, he don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So there has to be some creativity that has to take place.
Mm-hmm.
So the wife is going to, and unfortunately, yes, we have to put in more work at times. We do.
Right.
But
Right.
I like to look at it as an opportunity versus, so
Mm-hmm.
we got to do this again. You know,
Right.
I'm the one that got to be initiated, whatever we say, whatever we
Right.
think. So,
Exactly.
yeah. So,
Exactly.
I mean, we just have to do that sometimes because they don't know about us, our bodies, and our sexuality and our needs like we think they should because of what
Should.
society says. So she can be creative, she could bring some games in, or she could, maybe she could pretend to be somebody else if he goes for that kind of thing, or even do that out on a date. She can do like a little treasure hunt. She could promise him something. So it's like a few things that she could do. And but one of the number one things that my husband has shared with me is that it's important to nurture your man and then inspire him from the nurturing with whatever it is that
From the nurturing.
that you
I
want to do.
I like that.
Yeah, so that's really important for men to nurture them, because they come from their mama who nurtured them, and here's another female. They think we supposed to nurture them too.
Nurture them too. Exactly.
I mean, and we should nurture each other.
Right.
But I just think the mindset, like I said, your mindset is everything, and if you make a commitment to do something, it helps you to shift your mindset on a more positive side versus the, oh God, I got to do this thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I just think a shift in her mindset is probably the first and foremost thing. And really believing that this is going to make our sex life better. It's going to get my needs met, help me to get my needs met. So this is a place where they can come from in a self-loving way, not a selfish manipulative way, but like in a self-loving way and in a loving your relationship way, and a wanting to for your sex life to really be something positive, even when your husband can't or thinks he can't perform anymore, because a lot of it is medical issues. A lot of these men are suffering from diabetes or some other kind of medical condition where they're taking medication, and the medication is really the thing that's causing them to not be able to get and maintain an erection. And there's this other book that's one of my resources called Sexual Intelligence. And it's just about looking at sex in a different way. Looking at sex is not just penetration, but other ways to make each other feel cherished and loved and sexually fulfilled. So that's another patch of information that men need to be taught.
What did you say that book was?
Sexual Intelligence.
Sexual
Intelligence, yeah, by Marty Klein. And it just helps people to look at sex differently. Yes, and you have to as you age, you have to create a different kind of sexual life. You do, and a lot of men don't really know that. It's okay. And it's okay. It's perfectly okay. It's perfectly okay.
That's a lot of issues. It's okay. Yes.
Yeah, it's perfectly okay. Because sex is not just you sticking a man sticking his penis in a woman's vagina, humping a couple of times, and then have an orgasm and it's done. Sex is the foreplay. Sex is the nurture. Sex is the caring. Sex is the whatever other kind of sexual activity. It could be anything that makes that the couple agrees with. Any kind of sexual activity that they're having with each other. That all of that is sex. It's not just intercourse. So, and I think that's the thing too, where a lot of men get frustrated because they think if they cannot get an erection and, have sexual intercourse, that's the end of the world. But the truth is, and I know a lot of people don't know this, but I know some do and some don't. But a woman's pleasure does not necessarily come from intercourse alone.
Right.
A woman's body is designed in such a way where if you just penetrating, you 9 times out of 10, you're not hitting her clitoris or her spot, her pleasure spot, or her sweet spot. You're not.
Right.
So the
Right.
penetration for women, it's good because it makes you feel good when you're really
Right.
into the act. But as
Right.
far as the total fulfillment and the
Mm.
orgasms and climb,
Right.
mm-mm,
Right.
not just the
It
penetration
didn't
alone.
come from just intercourse.
Just
Right.
don't come from intercourse alone. You have to stimulate that clitoris, that woman's clitoris, and that whole area, not just that little bud, but like the whole area, because the
Right.
clitoris is a whole structure that
Wo
inside of a woman. It's not
woman.
just that little bud.
Right.
I mean, it's like just thinking the man's head, a man's penis is the only part of his genitals, and you got all this
Right.
other stuff. You got the whole
Right.
shaft. You got you got the ridge around the head of the
Right.
penis. You got
Exactly.
the scrotum. You got the ball sack. You got the anus. You got all that.
You got the
See,
whole thing.
got
Right.
the whole thing.
Exactly.
Same thing with
Exactly.
a woman. There's more than just
Right.
that, one little thing. So yeah, so I think that information will free a lot of people because a lot of people don't know that. And I
Right.
mean, even if your listeners can watch this with their husbands,
Right.
that would even be great just to get some tidbits or some information that they didn't have before. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. Wow. That is absolutely awesome. Some awesome information has been given. Some awesome. I really appreciate you. I thank you. I know the listeners have been blessed, have learned something. And I hope they sit down and take notes because I'm going to go back and I'm going to listen to it again. This particular podcast will be out on Wednesday, which is the what, 27th, on 27th at 2 o'clock. You can you can download the Spotify app if you do not have the app, because if you don't have the app and you just try to play it, you just gonna hear it, just gonna be audio. But you need the app in order to see us, to see and hear the interview. And that it I hope that it changed your whole perspective about sex. Women that are married, we just can't go around with having sexless marriage. And then all the single people out there having sex.
Mhm.
And we could care less. We just want to get up, good morning,
Mhm.
see you later, have a good day, good evening, how was your day, what's for
Mhm.
dinner, good night, get back up, next day, same, same, same. We can't
Mhm.
continue to do that because your marriage will just lie dormant.
Yeah.
It would just lie dormant. And God created sex for marriage.
Mhm.
There's no age limit.
Mhm.
Oh, there's no age limit. People, oh no, we haven't said, girl, we too old for that. We done had enough sex.
Mm.
Um, no, there's
No.
no age limit. There's no age limit.
Mhm.
And then,
Not
like you
not at
say,
all.
that a lot exactly. And like you said, there's a lot that men need to learn as well.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, if they feel that they um can't perform, then they think it's all over.
Mhm.
That's it.
Yep. And
We
it's
as
not.
women, like you said, going through the vaginal dryness. Okay, find out what can you do to help that. Just
Absolutely.
like you say, there's something out there for everything. You just have to find and you
Just
have
have
to
to find it.
want. You have to want to.
That's it. That's
Yes.
it. Mhm.
And when it comes to marriage, there's no limit when it comes to the bedroom. Long as it doesn't involve another person,
Absolutely.
and
Me and
long
you
as
good.
it's and long as then long as and both of you are comfortable
Both
with
agree?
what you're doing, there's no
Yes.
limit. If you're free,
Absolutely.
there's no limit.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. That's beautiful.
we got we got to step up to our game. I don't care if you 80, I don't care how old you is, okay? Step up to your game, okay?
That's right.
Ah, girl, child, I ain't, girl, I ain't thinking about no man. I ain't thinking about no sex and blah 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 blah. You just like you living with your brother.
Yep.
I mean, y'all just friends. Y'all just friends. Y'all just roommates.
Yep.
Let's take it to the next level. Let's take our marriage to the next level. Let's have not just a surviving marriage, but a thriving marriage.
Yes.
And First Lady, you have been a blessing to us.
Thank you.
Let the listeners know where they can find you again, and also let them know about Is it October? In October, you're doing a series. Is that correct?
Yes,
Is it October?
it's October. Yes,
You know,
October
these
9th.
days are passing so fast.
Yeah,
Yes,
they
these
are.
days are passing so fast. Let them know. Let them know about how they can find you on social media, your email. You know, so a lot of time people they'll email you because that's
Mhm,
what I get a lot of emails
mhm.
where people want to ask questions. Tell them how they can get in touch with you.
Okay, and I love questions. So please, if you have any questions, email me at askmavis@mavismcknight.com. Nice and simple. You know my name, you know my email.
Email.
And yeah, and you can also visit my website at askcoachmavis.com. And as far as my I'm doing a 5-day challenge, a free 5-day challenge from October 9th, I believe it's to the 13th, where I'm going to be talking about fire and desire. Is if you are not in the mood for sex, or if you've lost your desire for sex and you don't know why, and you think you've tried everything, I'm going to help you to identify some of the things that are holding you back, and I'm going to help you to be able to apply some of the things that I'm going to share with you. So if you're lacking desire, sexual desire, then please, I'm inviting you to sign up for my 5-day challenge, October 9th through the 13th.
Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yes.
Well, ladies, I hope that you have enjoyed this and I appreciate you. I asked that you, I said it at the beginning, but I say it again. Please share. Please share this podcast. You never know who needs to hear this because
Yes.
everybody not sitting around talking about sex or they talking about it
Right.
in a negative way.
Yeah.
And people need to hear this. They need to know this. They need to find her. Okay. Y'all, I got notes. I got notes all over here. Okay.
That's right.
Okay. 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 Because she caught my attention on I think it was a live. It was a live that Chris has shared, I believe. And that's I think was my very first time. And my ears was up. And I've been stalking her ever since. She's in my Facebook group, and I appreciate you being in my
Thank
Facebook
you.
group. But I want to say once again, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you. And ladies, as I always say, always try to leave a person better than you found them. Go and have a great rest of your day and be blessed. And you stay on
Thank
the
you
line,
so much for
okay?
joining us for
Right.
this episode of the Women Majoring in Marriage podcast.
Okay.
If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to like, subscribe, leave a review, or comment. You know, all that good stuff that helps other folks like you find the podcast. Please come back every month on the second and fourth Wednesday for new episodes. You can also find Janice on our website, www.janicevance.com, where you can order her book, Women Majoring in Marriage. And for more fun content, be sure to check out our Facebook group at Women Majoring in Their Marriage. Also, if you have any questions or would like to reach out, feel free to send us an email at themarriagemajor@gmail.com. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.